Hello everyone, my name is Alan and I'm with Darkscape Studios. This is a video tutorial for a new virtual tabletop that we've developed called Keep It Lit. This VTT is specifically designed for Shadowdark, but it can be used with Dungeons & Dragons 5e, Pathfinder 1e or 2e. I've used it with many different role-playing games. It works really well. But we specifically designed it for Shadowdark to make use of the lighting, dynamic lighting, in a virtual tabletop, and we make use of things like torch timers that are specific to Shadow Dark. So I'm going to record here a collection of videos that are basically tutorials to help you get started using this new tool. Now, I will start off here at the very beginning and say that we are redesigning the user interface to this tool to make it more intuitive and easier to use. And so that's part of the reason that I'm doing the tutorial here, is to help you get started with the early access version through Steam with the current user interface. It will become easier as we go, but do keep in mind that this is a project that is very much in development and will continue to be refined throughout the remainder of this year. So let's start off in this video and talk about some of the terms that we're going to be using. The first of which I'd like to define is a campaign. When we talk about a campaign, what we really mean is a collection of maps that have been set up and are part of your story arc. Now, that could be a one-shot with multiple maps, or it could be a multi-year campaign that has maybe 100 different maps, different locations, both dungeons and outside wilderness, and even different planes of existence. But nevertheless, you have different maps that you're going to use, and you want to group them together into what we're calling a campaign. So I'm going to start off with that in this video. So let's get into a campaign. So when you start up Keep It Lit, this is your initial splash screen, and we'll go into campaigns, and you can see I already have a whole list of campaigns that I've built here on this particular PC. But what I'm going to show you today is how to create a new campaign. So we're going to go to here and go New in just a moment, but I also want to point out we have an import and export capability as well as a delete capability here. So once you've created a campaign with a collection of maps, you can export it to a separate file. Like if I were to say I'm going to go to Waking of Willoughby Hall, and I'm going to export that. Now if I export it, it's going to allow me to export it as a .sd campaign or .shadowdark campaign, and I can give it a file name and save it. Now I can copy this to any other drive, put it on a thumb drive, take it to another PC. I can give it to a friend on the internet, put it on a Google Drive, whatever I want to do. I can just move the whole campaign around, and that moves the collection of maps and all of the lighting boundaries that I've defined in Keep It Lit, as well as all the tokens that I'm using in a campaign. So it puts it all together into a complete file that can then easily be transferred from machine to machine. If you were to go to, say, a separate machine and you had a thumb drive with this campaign on it that you'd exported, you could go to the other machine and bring in import. When you click on import, of course, it'll allow you to browse for the file that you want to import for that particular campaign, and it will add it as though the campaign was created on that machine, of course. You can also delete a campaign if you find that you don't need it anymore or you don't want it on this particular PC. But for this video, let's get into creating a new campaign. So I'm going to go New, and when I click that, what you will see is it adds it to the list here, and the default name is New Campaign. Once we see the new one has appeared, I'm going to click on Edit. And the very first thing I want to do when I have the new campaign is I want to go give it a unique name. So I'm going to call this Tutorial Campaign. I can put in a description, anything I might want to add in here just for some text that might remind me what this campaign's about. And before I get into creating maps, which we're going to do with this other tab here, I'm going to stay on the Info tab here, and I want to add some player tokens. Now, I don't have any player token artwork that comes with Keep It Lit at this time. So what I'm going to do is recommend that you download some art. If you're following along with this tutorial and you're trying to work on your own map, you may have your own tokens. One site that I really like is Forgotten Adventures. These guys make some amazing tokens. I love them. And furthermore, if you don't want to spend the money to buy the full pack here, this is Hero Tokens Pack 01. $7 here at the time of this recording. But the really nice thing is they let you download a free version, and this just gives you a sample of some of the tokens inside that you can use. So I've already done that for the purpose of this demonstration, so I'd encourage you to go there and check out their tokens. They're just great for virtual tabletops. So let's go in here and I'm going to create some player tokens. Now I also need to define the difference between player tokens and non-player tokens. Um, Player tokens are unique to a campaign. Now, when I talk about a campaign before and kind of defined what that meant is this is your one shot or your campaign that maybe has 100 different maps that lasts over a year. But typically you have a collection of players. They're going to have tokens that they use throughout the entire campaign. So these player tokens are unique and they have a few unique properties that only player tokens can have as opposed to other tokens for NPCs or monsters. The player tokens we add at this point because every time we open a map within a campaign, those player tokens will automatically be imported. So they're going to be a part of every map. So I want to add them now. So I'm going to go New. We get the token editor menu here. And the very first thing I'm going to do, you can do this in any order you want, but I'm going to go and select an image first of all. When I do that, I get my token library here. Now these are tokens that I have built. I will let you know some of these are AI generated. I'm not a fan of AI art, but I've used them in the past. So, but these are just different things that I personally have downloaded from just from the internet and various places that I've gone. But what I'm going to do right now is I want to use one of these tokens that I just mentioned from Forgotten Adventures. So let's go add files. And I downloaded their token pack and I put it here in this folder called tokens. So here's their free hero tokens 01. I'm going to go into the FA tokens, into heroes, catch all heroes. So I think what I want to do is I'm going to grab a wizard here. So I'm going to grab this wizard here with a staff that's slightly that's glowing brightly and spellbook. So we'll use that one. So I'm going to say okay. So now the wizard's been added to my list. And if I look down here, I see the wizard with staff. And I'm going to now select that artwork. Now it's been added to my library of tokens. And I'm going to click on that. And so now I have the new token here. This is the way it's going to look on the virtual tabletop. And I can give it a name. So I'll just call it wizard. I can add some notes in the note field. I typically will use this for tracking hit points if it's an NPC. It's a very convenient, area that allows me to put a condition in here or just a hit point total, whatever I would like to do. What type of token is this? Well, it's a player token, right? That's what we're adding right here, but we can later on, we'll see that we can add non-player tokens. I can scale this. Now, scale 1.0 means it's basically a medium-sized creature, your typical sort of human or humanoid. If this was a giant or something large, I could maybe make the scale 2. And when I show you how the maps work and everything, you'll see that the tokens with the larger scale will be larger on the map, proportionally scaled, right? I can change some coloring on this token if I wanted to. I'm going to leave it just at the default. And then there's some effects that I can apply. Right now we have a very short list of effects, but this will get longer over time. We can make it grayscale, where we just basically make it sort of a black and white image. If you want to have like a real old school look, just for experimentation, we did this ghostly green one, which is kind of cool. It's kind of a swimming shader that's been applied to the token. And as I said, we'll be adding a lot more of those as time goes on. We can also add a torch to this token. We can take the light that this token is going to have. We can turn the light on. We can define what type of light it has. It can have a torch or lantern or static. Torch is going to have, for Shadow Dark anyway, a range of near, and a lantern will have a range of double near, and then we can have static. These also have a shader applied to them for the torches and the lantern to give them sort of a flickering effect. We can specify the light scale if we want it to increase or decrease the light and make it something custom. But for now, we're just going to leave all these things at default. I'm not going to turn on a light for this token right now. We're just going to build a basic token. So this is our wizard, and I'm just going to say save. When I do that, we see that we now have a new player token that's ready to go. I'm going to add another one here, just real quick. I'll go select image, add files, go back to the same location. Let's get ourselves a fighter with a sword. Open. And now I'm going to scroll up here to fighter. Let's see. There we go. Fighter with a sword. And we'll just call him fighter. And we're going to say leave everything else default and say save. Okay, so we've got a couple of player tokens. Great. You can make as many as you want. And keep in mind that these are going to be all the player tokens that you'll use in the campaign. You can add more at any time you like throughout the campaign if a player changes a character, or you add another character comes in, or maybe they've got an NPC that's traveling with them. Basically, anyone that you want the players to potentially be able to control in a multiplayer environment, or the tokens that you want to show up on every single map throughout your campaign. So add them or delete them, whichever you need as you go through the campaign. All right, so now we've got our tokens, so we're going to jump into maps. We don't have any maps that are part of this campaign. Now, maps are included within the context of a campaign, and maps, we can create a new map. We can duplicate an existing map within the campaign and then reuse it for some other purpose. We can also import and export maps and delete them, just kind of like the way we can with campaigns. So I could import a map that has been previously exported, or I could take a map that I've been working on and export it. When we say maps, we have to be very specific about what we mean. A map, by our definition, is the image, the graphical image for the map, and the walls and doors and lights and other effects that you're adding through Keep It Lit. So that collectively becomes a map. So when we say export, it's not only the graphics, it's all of the other aspects of the map that create the dynamic lighting effects, as well as all the tokens that are on that map. They would be included in the map file. So for the purposes of this tutorial, let's just jump right in here and create a new map. So I'm going to go New, and this opens up a new menu over here, and we can give the map a name. So I'm going to call this map Crypt, and then this is the button here to set the map image. So I'm going to click on that, and now I'm going to open up the same folder location. I'm going to go into Maps, and I'm going to select this 4K Crypt map. And it's going to take a moment to upload this, and you'll see a preview here as soon as that's done. There we go. All right, so there is our map that we're going to go start to work with. So at this point, you can see Crypt now shows up in the list. And if I want to edit this, I can just go over here and double click on Crypt. All right, so when this shows up, you are now in an editing window where you can start manipulating the map. This is one of the things that we're going to be straightening out with our UI. This is a little bit awkward, I guess. That's the best word I can come up with. We really would expect to see the map here. The first thing you're going to think is, well, did something go wrong? The answer is no. All of our lighting is turned on by default. Okay, so it's all active, let me put it that way. But you have no light sources on the map. So everything's active, but nothing's turned on and illuminating anything. So of course the world is dark. So I can artificially turn off lighting, and now you actually see the map. Okay. So I'm going to zoom out here, and here is our Crypt map, and this is a little bit disconcerting as well. Look at how small your tokens are. They're overlapping each other. Here's our wizard and our fighter, and they look kind of transparent. Before I get into explaining that, let me show you one critical thing you need to do as soon as you bring in any new map at all. First thing we need to do is go to the Wall Editor tab up here, and we're going to turn on this little purple double-sided arrow here called the World Scaler. I'm going to click on that, and right in the center of the screen, I'm going to get this sort of barbell-looking shape in purple. And I can drag each of the circles at each end of it anywhere I want to. This is going to set the scale for this entire map. And as it says here in the instructions, this world scaler defines the near distance in ShadowDark. So set it to about 30 feet. Well, on my map, each one of these tiles that's drawn on the graphic map here is 5 feet. So there's 15, 20, 25, and 30. So that's about 30 feet. ShadowDark uses this abstracted distances, so you kind of have near, double near, and far kind of range, close being like adjacent to your character. So we just need to set the near distance. Now I don't have to try to overlay a grid and have all the tokens snap to grid and measure precise distances. Not for ShadowDark. We're going to keep everything fluid and keep it, moving nicely. You can sort of use it to kind of approximate the distances. So once I've set my near distance here relative to my map, I don't need to do anything else. No scaling or stretching grids and try to get things to align. Everything can just move smooth and be fluid, and put it wherever you'd like. You notice that when I change the world scaler, all of a sudden my tokens scaled up so that they're basically 5 feet on a side. So they're basically 1/6 of the near distance. So they fit very nicely on the tile the way we've done this. And I'm done. I don't need to spend any more time on it. Now, why are my tokens transparent? Well, the tokens have two different states. They can either be active or enabled and disabled. Right now, by default, they're disabled. And what disabled means is that the players won't see anything from the perspective of this token. So it's essentially they have no visibility. If I double click them as the DM, now I make them fully opaque. Now the players can see. And this is particularly helpful once we get our map lines in here. If I wanted to say take the fighter and move him, just move him from this location over to this hallway here, I don't want to drag him through here where the players will see this intervening space, or perhaps accidentally drag them through. Like if I wanted to move the fighter from here to this room, if I move them through here, they would see the hallway here as I move the token. I don't want them to see that. So what I'm going to do is double click it, make them basically deactivate the token, disable it, and then I can move it through walls and everything, move it to a new location, and then essentially activate it again. And the player that is controlling the fighter and in their screen, they will see it go black when we disable the token. Their screen will go dark, and then when we bring them over here and we re-enable it, they will see this room that they are now in. So this gives the DM a very nice way to know what the players can actually view from their point of view. All right, so that's our introductory video that just shows you how to get started here and how to get light turned on through the visibility menu here, see a map, get a map started. In the next video, I'm going to go through, we'll dive into how we start creating walls for our lighting boundaries for dynamic lighting. So join me in the next video. Talk to you soon.